of Abode of Testament for this honor to talk on this topic. And I'd like to dedicate my side of presentation to my darling husband who has been my backbone for so many years. I love you. I don't think I would have done anything without you. I just thank God for your life and for giving, you, me. I mean, me, you. So we're one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. My name is Ngozi Eke. I'm a child of God. I'm a devoted wife and mother. And also I'm an active worker in the children's department for about 10 years at my previous RCCG parishes. And also headed the children's department for 5 years, one of the parishes in the past. Currently, I'm the head of department for the strategic team at Abode of Testimonies. In addition, I'm a clinical, licensed, board-certified social worker by profession. It seems like my mic is going in and out. Okay, I'm going to continue. Can you all hear me? Okay. I'm also a Texas and Michigan State supervisor for clinical social work. And I'm the owner of the Esteemed Christian Counseling Services, a notary public for the state of Texas, and also work at a federal government agency as a psychologist. And also work at a federal government agency as a psychotherapist and also, a children's author. Next slide. So today we're just going to look quickly on some of the outline for my talk, career talk. So I'm going to start with the introduction, go on to guiding our children towards the career, guiding ourselves, juggling career and family, self-care, the time factor, questions and comments. Next slide. So I want to start by telling you all that God has a perfect design for each and every one of us. When we're in our mother's womb, He has already fashioned a destiny for each one. And in some ways, career is more of like a calling, in your career. Let's say you're a doctor, nurse, whatever profession you are, you can minister to your patients as you're performing your duties. Like for me, for instance, as a social worker and counselor, I know I'm not allowed to talk about religion, but some of my patients who are, headed towards religion and want us to talk about it, I do talk about it. And they really appreciate it and it helps them to develop their journey with God. Next slide, please. So this is one of my favorite scripture verses. It's taken from Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. It says, "For I know the plans I have. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future." Do you all believe in that? Okay, that's great to know. So guiding our children to a career, they take nurturing and encouragement. So before we speak of anything about career, I want each and every one of us to recognize that your home is your first career. It's the building block. The Bible says a wise woman buildeth her home. And children thrive with attention and nurturing. And spending time with children is very important. Being part of a team, you and your husband, can really it can really go a long way. So I'm going to use a little analogy about the onion. Do we all cook with onions? Yes. And we know when an onion is rotting, believe me, 9 chances out of 10, the core is rotten. So the core is the family. Everything else, career, are the layers. So when your family is sound, your career is likely to be sound. I wanted to bring an onion. My husband said, no, don't bring it. I said, okay, let me just use the picture presentation. So like I said, it's important to include your husband, especially in decision-making as a family. It's very important. And when you're talking about career with your children, include your husband with that as well. So how do we guide our children towards a career? Excuse me. So thank you. How do we guide our children towards a career? So let's find out. So I have some of suggestions. So be an observer. I know the picture I put, it looks like he's spying. We shouldn't spy on our children. But the circumstances, we can spy on them, but that's another topic for another day. So it's being observant, be attentive, be in the present. When you're discussing with your children, not just shun them away, making eye contact, looking at them, nodding like you're listening to them, and being patient as they talk about. No matter what it is, it may sound, like it's not making sense, but when you give them that attention, they really appreciate it. So the next one is being open-minded. So I have a little quote there. It says, a mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it isn't open. So we know that parachute saves lives, right? So when we have an open mind, you can't believe what being open-minded can really put you so far. But when our minds are closed-minded, it can really cause a lot of problems. So while being open-minded, you also have to be very realistic. So the next point talks about being real with your children. Let's say your child wants to be a dancer, okay? So it's not like completely shutting them down. You can tell them, okay, what is God saying about this? Okay, but, okay, let's watch and see. You can encourage them in that talent. However, you have to be real with them. So I'm coming down to the importance of education, having a sound education. So we talk of dance, I'm just using this as an example. If I want to be a dancer, I want to do sports. But we all know by the age of 30 or 40, right, the career is over. They want next. Okay? If they perhaps went to school, then they can fall back on their education. It's very important. Education is very crucial for your children. So the next one is praying. Praying together as a family, as a unit, is very, very important. So I have more suggestions. Spending time with God is very. I wouldn't want you to take coming to church, involving your children, summer camp as for granted. It's very important. I'm going to use my personal story. I grew up in a Christian home, but we never went to church. I never knew God. We never, that routine Sunday, I can't even remember. The few times we went to church, maybe it's to go to somebody's event or something. So one day, I think I was like 9 years or 10 years, I overheard my parents talking in the room and said that these children's behaviors, it's not good. Let's put them into this religious summer camp, So they did. And can I tell you, that was my first time I even getting to know, I even started to think about who God is. I remember looking up in the stars and I just started thinking Moses, Abraham, and all that. And that laid the foundation towards, my journey, trying to find God. So I wouldn't want you guys to take that for granted, all these church programs. Let your children be involved in them. It can make a big impact in their life. So the next one is giving them attention. It's very important. Building up the self-esteem, self-worth. And I want you to, when you see your child, it may not be the place you want them to be, but I want you to, instead of using harsh words, use words of encouragement. You can say, I see you as this, I see you as this. Because our words are very impactful, and it means something. And the child will be in the child. At that moment, may not, the child may not, it'd be like the child is not listening. But as you continue to say, like when you get upset, you can do the opposite. Like let it be a trigger. Like when I want to say something harsh, let it be a trigger. Let me do something opposite, which is positive. Because when I say that something harsh, there's not much benefit to it, both to you as a mom and to your child. So the next one is guidance. Guidance, guidance, guidance. It's a continuous effort. So redirecting advice constantly. I know it's not easy, believe me. You need lots of patience. And it's ongoing. If your child is 5 years, 10, 20, 30, they'll come to you for advice. And never be tired. Always be available for them. And the next one is personal space. Yes! Children need personal space. I know we sometimes imagine our children as our property, right? But they're their own individual. I always tell my children, look, I'm your sister. I tell my husband, I'm your sister in Christ. Yeah. That God gave me this role to guide you. But in Christ, we're all brothers and sisters. So it's important to give them that space so that they develop themselves individually. Because when they go off to college, they're about themselves, right? Let them get to love themselves, get to be alone with themselves. It's very, very important. So I have a scripture reference comparison. So I'm going to start from 1 Chronicles 29, First Chronicles chapter 29, verse 1. King David said to all the assembly, Solomon, my son, the one whom God has chosen, is young and inexperienced. And the work is great, since the palace is not for man, but for the Lord. Okay, so I want you to hold that. So let's look at the next one. In 2 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 1. Now Solomon, you see how they started now. So even if you're looking at your child presently, that's not his end game. He's developing. Always have that in mind. When you feel discouraged, he's developed. He hasn't reached that point where God wants him to reach. Now, Solomon, the son of David, strengthened himself over his kingdom. And the Lord his God was with him and made Solomon exceedingly great. So you'll be wondering, so what happened from that chapter 1 to 2? There's something went on, right? Okay. So from this verse, he's telling me perhaps Solomon spent time in the presence of God. His father, obviously, must have taught him to do that, to develop him. So you see how from the beginning, they mention his young experience. Then later on, you see Solomon was exceedingly great. So I don't want you to just focus on the now when you see your kids. Know that they're developing towards a greatness that you can't even imagine. So now it comes to guiding ourselves to a career, knowledge, and action plan. So preparing yourself spiritually, that's number one. So we're going to assume the posture of submission. Being open-minded in the career that God's leading you. And be submissive. Be malleable like clay, flexible. Not set in your ways. So I'm going to use my story. I didn't get any guidance. I didn't get any direction. So I was lost for a long time, for years. So I saw many people entering nursing. I followed them. I followed the crowd. Okay, nursing is the place. I did my prerequisites. I got into a very top nursing school, but only stayed for 2 weeks. So ask me why. Since I studied the school to the end, I was thinking, the only thing I was thinking about is clinicals, the needles. I said, how am I going to put needle on somebody? I told my professors. They said, oh, no, don't go. You do it. I said, no. So I had to talk with my husband. I said, if I continue in this profession, I'm going to get arrested or lose my license. Something is going to happen. So I advised myself, So one day my husband, he was working with at-risk teens in New Jersey. So he invited me to a workshop they're having. They're talking about social work. So I came, at least I was interested and all that, but I was hard-hearted. I was proudful. I said, yeah, how can I enter social work? Why social work? So I looked down on that profession. So one thing led to the other, I was attending Redeem at that time. They used to teach us about humility and all that. So it's like, okay, I came around to it. God can make something, the world thinks as foolish into something great. There's a scripture that says that God uses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise, so no one should boast. So finally, I got into the career. It helped me in so many ways. I can't even begin to say how it has helped me personally and career-wise. And today, I don't regret it. I used to think, I wish I did this 10, 20 years ago. But I didn't have any direction. So that's why it's very important, you direct your children. So cultivate a listening ear by being vigilant, being eager to hear God's voice, asking yourself, what is God saying in this situation? Being honest with yourself, being in a position of readiness in God's presence, always in church, reading Bibles. I gave some examples. Renewing your mind, being active as a church worker. This is very, very important, being an active church worker. So my husband gave me permission to use his personal story. When he came here to America, before we were going to Redeem, before he started heading like 4 to 5 departments. He was seeing other people going on with their career and all that. Once in a while, the devil will tell him, is this what you came to America to do? Doing church work. But can you believe, within that church work, one day, one of his members in his department, I think he was just graduated from medical school. You know, they started a discussion from one thing led to the other. We had to pray for a long time, confirmation, and before you know it, he went to medical school, and he has graduated from medical school. So it's within that service, you're working for God. That's where you can find it, you know, when you ask, where's my career? But God says, work in my garden, I'll work in yours. So work in God's garden, and you see everything will open up for you. So you see, I wrote, ready, set, go. So I want you to imagine, like a sprinter, like in track and field, when they say, on your marks, ready, set, go. So when you do that, assuming the posture of submission, cultivating a listening ear, being in a position of readiness, being in the atmosphere, in the church, being active in service. Before you know it, everything it will be clear. So I have some scriptures. I'm just going to go to the next slide because I think I wrote it. Excuse me. So I have Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Proverbs 16:3. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. John 15:5. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much, much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. Always remember that. Without God, we can do nothing, absolutely nothing. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Psalms 37:4. These are just a little scriptures I got. There's so many scriptures regarding this. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of thy heart. Just a little note I just wanted to talk on. Sometimes it's okay. God doesn't show you the whole picture. And perhaps if God shows us the whole picture, we may not even want to do it. To be honest with you, if God showed me the picture of all the sacrifices, the hardship, the tears, the cries, my husband went to medical school, I wouldn't have agreed. I would have said, oh, no, this is too much. So I cast my back when God was leading the Israelites. You know how he led them? They were fighting enemies, little by little, little by little. So it's okay that you don't have all the picture yet. Just taking one step at a time. In faith, one step at a time. And God will lead you towards your destiny. So suggestions. So what are my interests? Finding out what your interest is. Being attentive to yourself. Very important. So we shouldn't think that, God is not interested in what interests us. He is. He loves us. He created us. He knows what our talents are. He knows, what we're capable of. So it's important that you nurture those interests. And perhaps pray or even say, okay, God, I'm interested in this. Can I do this or leading me towards this? It's okay to have that conversation with God. So again, the mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it isn't open. Being open-minded, I'm stressing, is very important. If I was open-minded earlier, I would have been in a much better position than I am today. But thank God I eventually found my way back. So the next one is being realistic. Again, the importance of education. Doesn't matter how old you are. If you need to go back to school, go ahead. I think, was it Gloria Copeland was saying that, it's okay if you want to go back to school at the age of 50. Don't say you're too old. Because by the time you get 60, get to see, that time will still come 60. When you get to 60 years. So by that time, when you get to 60 years, whether you went to school or not, that time will still come. Like now, if me and you are just sitting, we don't say anything at all. Guess what? Time is still going to tick. That time, the time doesn't care what you're doing or not. It's still ticking. So don't say you're too old to get an education. And it's also important to remember sacrifices. Be prepared to make sacrifices. And remember that it's temporary. It's not permanent. This is very important. And don't be scared. I know it's scary. I know. Don't be scared. God will lead you. He'll take you by your hand. If you have a good church family, they can be very supportive as well. And always pray to God, spouse, or with your spouse, pastor, prayer partner. So how do we juggle career and family? I know, again, my picture, the lady is smiling, but it's a very stressful situation. I don't know why she's even smiling, but I like that picture with the clocks and everything. So it's just being strategic planning with your spouse, making good use of time, and being realistic, knowing your limitations, being honest with yourself. We want to do it all, but we can't. Let's say you have a full-time job, and you want to go back to school. Instead of going back to school full-time, you can do part-time. You can take one class, each semester if possible. So don't be scared of the little progress. At the end, you will eventually get your degree. So that's part of that strategic plan I'm talking about. Self-care. Self-care is your best friend, okay? So there's types of self-care. When we hear people, what's self-care? What is it? So here I have physical, emotional, social, spiritual. So physical, going to the doctor's appointment, getting your exercise, eating well, sleeping well. Emotional, knowing when you're stressed. And it's okay if you're not. Tell your husband, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Can I go to my room and rest? That's perfectly fine. Or tell your children, it's time for me to, excuse me, it's time for me to go and rest, so I can recoup to continue. Socially, spending time with family, friends, and asking for help is very important. And I think down there it talked about forgiveness. Forgiving people is good, but also we have being able to forgive yourself. Being able to somehow overcome those past regrets or past pain in order to, go on. Because what happens is when we dwell in the past, it takes our future. Remember the time I talked about? It takes up our time. If I sit here and talk about the mistakes I made in the past, what is my gain? It just took, maybe I took 1 hour of thinking. That 1 hour, I've used it for something. So another good way that can help is ask yourself, this hurt me in the past. Why am I allowing it to hurt me again? Why am I giving that double power? So spiritual, spending time with God, meditation can be helpful. So I have some resources here. It's called Abide Meditation app. The #1 Christian meditation app for stress relief and can help you sleep better. So it has different stories and tools. It has a free download at abide.co. Additional considerations. Just start something. Start something. Remember the time factor. Time is ticking. Just start something. You may not know, you may not see it clearly. If it's an odd job, just start. No experience is a waste. It builds up a resilience. When I started working in a daycare. I worked with very young children. But then when I started, my patience was 0. I had no patience. But over time, working with these children helped me develop that patience. So no experience is permanent. If you're doing an odd job, it's not permanent. God is leading you towards your destiny, to your designed job. So it's like building blocks. I want you to think of everything is building. When a child is born, they start to sit, they crawl, they walk. They don't just start walking. It's a process, it's a progress, little bit. So any job you're doing, I don't want you to look down on it. You can use that same, you can use that experience for your, when you reach your God-given career. I've seen testimonies. Somebody's doing an odd job, but they work so hard. Before you know it, they promoted them. They're like, oh. So there we go, hard work. So anything you find yourself doing, do it to the best of your ability, and God will surprise you. So scripture reference, I'm going to twist my tongue here. Ecclesiastes, that's like 5 syllables. Chapter 9, verse 10. Whatever your hands finds to do, do it with all your might. Proverbs 14:23. In all hard work, there's profit. But merely talking about it brings poverty. So I don't want you to continuously talk. Start something. Start doing it, no matter how small. Any questions, comments? So let's interact. If anybody wants to add to this. Oh, later. Okay, they say I'll ask questions later. That's fine. So thank you so much. And this is my contact info. If you want to contact me, thanks. God bless.
She did a good introduction because I think even if I'm married into the name, I have changed the name several times, depending on where I am, who I meet, or what I remember. So, Grandma, how do we say this name? It's Alashe, but if you catch me in clinic, it might be Alashe. Okay? And if they miss it, it might be Elise for that day. So, as long as I hear A, I will answer. Okay? Welcome, everybody, to the Women's Conference. Our theme for this weekend happens to be the title Engaged. So they asked me to speak about safety. So safety was, I didn't know what to say. So I had to think medically, what am I here? Who am I, right? So I have to speak in that terms. So my name is Joyce Alashe. Alashe? Okay, I'm a board-certified internist with a subspecialty in geriatrics. So what does that mean? Basically, I'm what you guys call a general practitioner. I work in the hospital, I work in the clinic, but I took an extra year to learn about how to treat my geriatric population, my older population, because their health and their care is a little bit different from the younger people. So that's me. I normally treat people between the ages of 17 till God calls you. I manage your basic chronic care like hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol issues, thyroid issue, prostate issues. I also do some medical weight loss for patients, basically meaning I give you medications to help you with weight loss, but we know that you need to do your own part. I also offer hormone therapy in terms of people who suffer with libido issues, sex drive, low testosterone, low energy. I'll also be offering IV infusion therapy. You know, there are some days you don't feel full. So we have cocktails for that to help you boost up your energy, give you some extra substance to your day. Clinic is called Healing Hands Medical Clinic. We are located right behind Sam's Club, 207 Tradewinds Boulevard. It's right next to the DeVita area. My wonderful husband is passing out my cards. Currently, I'm only doing telehealth, audio, and visual, and I hopefully by December, January, will start to see patients within the clinic. Okay? By God's grace, because we're in Midland. Okay, so look, I'm not a speaker. I enjoy one-to-one. So I'm going to utilize all of you. I'm going to get you engaged. We have healthcare professionals in here. Please help me out. I try not to make this too much, just something basic. So what we'll be doing is, should I point somewhere? We are having technical difficulties. We were coming. But our title, what I was going to talk to you guys a little bit was about first aid, becoming a first aider. So that's what I wanted to teach you guys a little bit about. But I will give you a disclaimer. I have my ACLS certification. I have my BLS certification. I don't have PALS, which is for children, because I don't see children. Sister spoke about having patience. I don't have patience for that one, okay? So only advanced care and BLS. So I am certified, but not certified to teach. So I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of information. Go. Okay. There you go, next slide. But this is my disclaimer. This information provided today is for educational purposes only and does not substitute for professional certification. If you want to be certified, you have to reach out to your local hospital, Red Cross, or EMT, and they'll help you with certification so you can be fully certified and get more than the basic information that I'm giving you today. Okay? So what is a first aid? What is first aid? So first aid is really just the first or immediate or primary assistance and care given to someone that's injured. It's like your child comes to you and say, "Mommy, I have a boo-boo," but you don't see anything, but you pretend. And what do they want? They want a Band-Aid, right? So it's that first care that you give to the person. Okay, so today I just want to kind of get you guys in the mood of what do you see, what to do when you see someone. Okay, if you see someone that looks like they need help. Okay, there are different types of first aid. There's emergency first aid, a standard basic first aid, child care first aid, like for people who work in daycare centers, it would be good for them to have that so they know what to do if our children are there and they need help. So those are some courses that you can take depending on what your interests are or what your field is in. Okay? So what is the purpose of first aid? The purpose of first aid, first and foremost, our goal is to save a life, right? It's to preserve a life. Okay, we want to prevent injury from getting worse. We want to aid in the patient's recovery. If they're in pain, we want to help them with pain, okay? Providing first aid for someone is the difference between that person spending 2 nights in a hospital or 5 months in a hospital with a long recovery or just death, okay? So when we talk about first aid, it's really about what you're giving that person immediately at that time, okay? So today, I'm just going to increase your awareness, provide you with some basic skills and knowledge in the event of an emergent situation. Our goal will always be to save a life. That is the goal. Okay? So who's going to need it? When do I know that someone is going to need first aid, right? It could be something as simple as someone having a nosebleed, allergic reaction. Maybe they took medication, they're starting to swell, or they're starting to turn red, or they're having hives, right? Or is your child that has a boo-boo. Or it could be something a little bit more serious like a heart attack or stroke or someone that's choking. So there are some basic steps to follow. For today, I'm just going to focus more on assess. But for like assess, plan, implement, evaluate, those are more for advanced care people. But I'll try to give you a little bit of information and help you kind of practice. But we're basically going to focus on the initial assessment of the patient, which is basically a primary survey, right? I see someone. Okay, so something's happening somewhere, right? You're standing somewhere, we don't have subways in Midland. You're standing at the bus stop, you're at the mall, you're at the eatery, something, right? You notice someone, or you see someone's on the ground. Okay, one, you need to first recognize that there's a problem, right? Why is this person on the ground? Are they playing? Are they having a tantrum? Is this something serious? We first need to recognize that there is an issue. So if you're able to recognize that there's an issue, then you proceed to see if you can help. But it's not like you just jump in the road and say, let me help you, okay? You have to be aware of your environment. That's the most important thing. You don't know if that person was walking, there was water on the floor, they slipped, they fell, that's what happened. So you don't rush in there. Make sure, look at your surroundings. In this time that we're in where we have active shooters around, maybe you didn't hear, maybe you had your headphones on. The person might be down because they had a gunshot wound. So again, it's important to survey your surroundings before you just proceed. If you're driving by, you see a car accident, you don't jump out your car and try to help. You pull over, you look left and right, and make sure it's safe for you. We don't want 2 casualties. We're only looking to help the person that's there instead of both of you becoming a problem, correct? So once you see that you've recognized there's a problem, you approach, the scene is safe, you get to the person. As you're walking to the person, you're talking to the person, you say, hey, do you need help? Do you need help? Hey, do you need help? This is just for you to test the person's responsiveness, right? If this patient needs help, they'll say, I need help. Okay, you know they are talking, they are breathing, right? There's some type of response. They'll be able to give you more information so you know, okay, do I need to call 911 or does someone call 911? They'll be able to help you, right? So you get there, they're talking to you, good, you get your information. However, there are times that you get there, the person's not talking. Maybe they can't hear you. Maybe it's a language barrier, right? Always tell them who you are. Hey, I'm going to touch you. Do you need help? And then you shake the person, right? You shake him. Hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? So now the person's not talking to you. So, you know, I might have an airway compromise, right? Is the person breathing? You just lean in. You know, have your face mask. It is still COVID. Just lean into this person. Look at their chest. Is it moving? Okay? Circulation we'll talk about a little bit later. In this case, this person's not responding to me. Call 911, okay? Never be afraid to call 911. Even if you don't want to approach the individual, call 911. Don't worry about who it is. Don't worry about your status. Don't worry about anything. Most important thing is call 911, okay? You can tell them your name is Shamika, your last name is Jones. They don't care. They just want the information about the person that requires assistance. Okay, so I cannot stress that enough, is for you guys to call 911. So this is a little video. I hope it has volume. Is that volume? Hey, volume? So essentially, this is someone that's watching someone on the ground. He's approaching the person. He came from far away. He's checking to see if the patient is responsive, right? So you guys might have to, can't listen, but you have to visual. Can you guys see it? Nobody can see. Okay, my texts are coming. Okay, so he's approaching the patient. He's shaking the patient to see if they're responsive, right? The patient is not responsive. He tugs on the ear. Maybe this will stimulate the patient to wake up a little bit. Patient's not waking up. So the next thing he's gonna do is basically call 911 for assistance. And 911 will guide you and tell you.
Hey, alert.
So
When I see a casualty, first, I'm going to check for any danger to make sure it's safe for me to approach them. I don't want to become a casualty myself. Then I'm going to see if I can get a response from the casualty. As you approach, introduce yourself. Ask them questions to try to get a response. If they're not alert and do not respond to your voice, kneel down beside them and gently shake their shoulders. Hello, Amy. It's Winston. Can you hear me? Open your eyes. Still no response? You can pinch their earlobe to see if they respond to pain. Depending on how the casualty responds to you, will establish a level of response. We use the ABPU scale, and each letter can represent.
Okay. So that was just a brief. So you saw he approached the patient, he shook the patient, but he checked the surrounding first. He introduced himself before touching the patients. You know, you don't know what's their mental state, so introduce yourself and let them know you're gonna help them, even if you think they can't hear you. Okay. So first and foremost, as a first aider, the first person that arrives on scene, make sure just to recognize that there is a problem and provide help. When in doubt, just call 911. It never hurts. Just call 911. Even if nothing happens, just let your conscience be free that you call the next person that can assist with this help. Okay, so just some principles we follow. Try to stay calm. Manage the situation. Make sure the place is safe for you to come around. And then just apply the first basic skills, introducing yourself to the patient. At the end of the day, if you know nothing, don't do anything. Just call 911. The most important thing about helping people is not to do any harm to the person, okay? Don't move them, don't touch them. Just call 911, okay? So what type of emergencies? When will I get to actually dive in there and help somebody? So we'll do a couple of scenarios, okay? The first scenario we're gonna talk about is about seizures. Everybody knows what a seizure looks like, but the only thing that we have in our mind is that somebody is jerking around, they're foaming at the mouth, and they're just kind of just wiggling about. However, we have seizures where people just give you like a blank stare, right? It's kind of like you're dazed. And then when they come back, they don't even know that they went into a blank stare. Okay, so that's another form of seizure that you have to be aware about. So when you see patients like this, you try to help them to the ground. If they're upright, help them to the ground. Once you have this person to the ground, make sure that the area is safe. You want to move chairs out the way. You want to move water out the way. Anything that this person will not see that's gonna hurt the patient, you want to move that out of the way. Okay, you want to maybe place like soft pillows, comforters around this person, so as they're jerking around all over the floor, they don't hit their head. At least it's a soft cushion that they're moving. Don't try to hold these people like it's gonna pass. Never hold anybody that's having a seizure. Just clear the way and make sure the area is safe for them. Okay, when they stop seizing, go ahead and check their pulse, and I'll show you guys how to do that in the next slide. Okay, just position the person in a way that they're not going to choke. So you want to turn them on their side, because most of these people, after you have a seizure, you don't know. When they talk to you, they're not there. They're just lost. Okay? So I'm just going to show you guys another video. Hopefully this one works.
Having a seizure, it's important to protect them from harming themselves during the fit. Clear away any potential dangerous objects like hot drinks or sharp objects. Don't restrain or move them. Make a note of the time when the seizure started and how long it lasts. Protect their head by placing something soft underneath or around it, like a towel, and loosen any clothing around their neck. Once the seizure has stopped, open their airway and check their breathing. If they're breathing, put them into the recovery position.
as safely as you can for the patient when it comes to moving. If you feel like you can't move them, they're too big for you, leave the person
Stop
alone.
breathing at any point. Prepare.
Okay? So we talked a little about checking pulse, which was the part of the circulation question. So sometimes when you call 911, they'll ask you, does the person have a pulse? Are they breathing? So who can tell me, I have some professionals here, don't tell them, but how can we check a pulse? Who knows how to check a pulse? My son knows how to check a pulse. Who else knows how to check a pulse? Okay, my daughter, maybe something like that. Who knows how to check a pulse? Okay, who knows where we can check our pulses? Okay, I see neck, I see arm, I see, good, okay, good. So these are basically that's what you're gonna hear, of course. It's loud, you can mute it if you like. So these are just the points that we do check for pulses in your femoral area, your groin area, but mostly what you're going to do is you're gonna check the basic points. You're gonna check them in their neck or at the wrist area, okay? Don't check your neck on both sides at the same time. You will pass out, or the person's gonna pass out. You're gonna cause more harm than you're supposed to do. Only check one time, just check once at a time. So look to your neighbor to your left, look to your neighbor to your right. Both of you exchange hands, arms, and I want you to check each other's pulse. Check the pulse, check the pulse. Check the pulse. Take your 2 fingers, put it right. Check pulse though. Even show your children, because you don't know when you might need it. Check the pulse. Auntie, you're not checking pulse. Check my pulse. If you can't find it, the person's not alive. It's not possible. Can you feel? Don't press too hard. Press gently. Gently. You want to press against the bony prominence, right in between that area. Just lightly touch it. Lightly touch. Or you can check your neck yourself. You feel it. Okay? You can check your own neck and you can feel it. Pastor, let him touch your wrist now. Don't be modest. Did everybody feel something? You felt? Who didn't feel? Is your neighbor not pulsating? Call 911, right? Call 911. If it's not there, something is wrong. We need to talk. If you're walking and there's no pulse, we need to talk. This is not a Halloween trick. It's not possible. It's not possible. Okay? Good. I'm glad we got that part. Stroke. I'll just let everything come out. For the stroke, okay. So stroke is another one. So this is one of the other, it's coming out funny. I think I might have been doing film trick with this one. Okay, so stroke is what we call a brain attack. Now this one is more severe. So that's why I say is the difference between a recovery of 2 days or 5 months or just a prolonged hospital course. Okay, so when we talk about stroke, there are certain things to look at. Some people use the acronym FAST-ER, right? We have to act fast. We have to get them to the emergency room immediately. So what am I looking at? F, standing for facial droop, right? That's your face. This patient's face will change. It will kind of look slanted, like the mask, like something has happened, like the cake is melting kind of situation is what you will notice. Arm is for A. A is for arm, okay? Which could be arm weakness. But it doesn't only have to be arm weakness. It could be leg weakness. It could be any part of your limb, okay? Your body can start to feel numb. If it doesn't feel normal from baseline, and you know you didn't just walk up a flight of stairs, that is weakness. That is something different from what your baseline is, okay? S stands for stability, right? So sometimes you start having issues with walking. That's what we call gait problem. Person that used to walk, strides, arms are swinging, all of a sudden is different. The leg is dragging. Something is wrong. My leg feels heavy. I can't pick it up as usual. Another one you can use for S is slurred speech. The person is talking to you, all of a sudden you ask them a question, they're saying no when they mean yes, or they're trying to tell you the words, and it's not making sense. It's not comprehensible. Huh? And even them, they're shocked. They know what they're saying, but it's not coming out. That's something else you need to look for. Team time, right? You need to document exactly when you started noticing that thing. When did this person's just behavior change? When did they start complaining, oh, my leg, you know? Because when we know time, we can act fast. We can know if you can get a certain type of therapy or not, okay? So when you see this patient, call 911. If they say, don't worry, I'm fine, it'll pass, be like, it's okay. Call 911, okay? Because if you don't call 911, they're not immediately seen, they're not immediately evaluated. You don't know what course of life or quality of life you're living that person with. So regardless of what is happening, if it's your husband standing next to you that said, no, let me sleep, or let me use Bengay, don't do it, because at the end, it will become your burden to carry, okay? So it doesn't matter. Let's call 911. If they give us a bill, it's okay. It's only people that are alive that can pay the bill. You don't have to pay the bill, but it's your own credit that you're destroying. But don't worry about that. Just get in the mood of calling 911 when you're not sure. Just get in the mood, save a life, save your husband, save your grandfather, save your uncle, your auntie, your church member. Just please call the number, okay? And we'll talk about number 5 in a little bit. So let me show you a normal video. Uh-oh, my video did not show.
Someone's feeling faint, advise them. Someone's feeling faint.
I'm sorry. So essentially, it was going to show you a husband, a family. They're having dinner. All of a sudden, he's going to pick up the phone. His arm becomes weak. He starts to slide off the couch. The family's rushing. They're panicking. Everyone's panicking. Daddy, what's going on? What's going on? Wife calls 911. Emergency comes and gets the patient. He gets to the ER. He receives therapeutic medication. Of course, he does all the imaging.
Now he's been wanting to put garlic chives in everything.
Thank you.
Well, not everything.
Dad, the side of your face is drooping. Mom?
It's probably nothing.
Dad, are you okay?
You're slurring. Why are you slurring? Raise your arms up in the air for me.
Dad, are you okay?
Gracie, call 911.
I said,
Honey? Tim! Tim, look at me, Gracie. Tell them to hurry. Tim, look at me. Look at me, Tim. Dad, I don't know. I think he's having a stroke.
I think my dad is having a stroke.
Tim, what's going on, baby? My husband, he's cold. Are you cold, honey? Are you cold? Okay. Gracie? See, Gracie's gonna come, sweetheart. We're just gonna go. We're just gonna go in the ambulance right now. We're gonna go to the hospital. Okay? Okay. Huh? I'm right here. I'm right here. Gracie, meet us there. I'm right here. I'm right here. Okay. Okay, here we go. You just stay right here. You just stay and breathe. Huh? Just breathe. Tim? Tim?
Dad?
How you feeling?
I'm fine.
Well, you've had a stroke. But because you got here quickly, you're looking at a full recovery.
Very sweet, very touching. I love it. But not all stories are like that, and that's just the reality of life. Okay, we spoke about facial droop. We spoke about people walking funny. Another thing you have to realize is everybody doesn't present typical textbook, right? Some people might complain about headaches. Pay attention. If you're having a headache that's very unusual for you, you need to be at the ER. If all of a sudden your blood pressure used to be controlled, is no longer controlled, and is getting higher and higher, and nothing has changed, you need to be at the ER. You need to see your physician, okay? If you think at some points that, man, sometimes I have these episodes where my arm just goes numb, and then it's fine. You still need to be seen, because that just lets us know that you're having little strokes one by one, and the next one might be catastrophic. So anything that changes from your baseline, speak up. Be an advocate for your health. Go and see your physician. That's why we tell you, you need to have a general practitioner all the time. So even if it feels like you're bothering them, hey, this happened to me. Am I okay? Don't be a hypochondriac, but you can't help it. It's your life, okay? So anything that changes from your baseline that is not normal for you, you need to tell a healthcare professional, or you just need to go to the ER and tell them these are the things that you have been experiencing, okay? And let them evaluate you, give you a doctor to see. At least you have peace of mind that you took steps, okay? So another common one is fainting. Like our sister talked about, she couldn't do blood. Some people see blood and they pass out, right? Some people have blood pressure issues. They take too much, they pass out. Some people did not eat. They went jogging, they pass out. Heat exhaustion. So sometimes people can pass out because they just passed out, maybe some type of hemodynamic stability. Your water intake doesn't equal to your output, right? So anything like that will cause you to just fall on the ground. When you fall on the ground, it's your body trying to reset itself. But also realize people that are having strokes or other medical problems can also fall at the same time. So when we talk about someone that just, you're talking to them, all of a sudden, whoo, they're down on the ground. Follow the same thing we spoke about. Approach them. Tell them, hey, I'm going to help you. Are you okay? You shake them. These people will respond faster. They won't be confused. They will respond faster to you. So all I want you to do is try to lift up their leg. When you lift up their leg, you're bringing blood flow back to their head. Put maybe a chair underneath their leg. It will help to bring blood flow back, okay? So in that event, that one is good, it's savable, and that one shouldn't be too much. But if they're not responding, call 911. Putting up their head will not help us this time. 911 is always our best friend.
Someone's feeling faint, advise them to lie down. Kneel down next to them and raise their legs, supporting their ankles on your shoulder or a chair if available, to help blood flow back to the brain. Watch their face as signs that they are recovering. Make sure that they have plenty of fresh air. Ask bystanders to move away. And if you're inside, ask someone to open a window. They should recover within a couple of minutes. As they recover, reassure them and help them to sit up slowly when they are feeling better. If they don't become responsive again, quickly open their airway, check their breathing, and prepare to treat someone who is unresponsive. So remember, if someone's feeling faint, lie them down and raise their legs. Make sure they have plenty of fresh air, and when they recover and are feeling better, help them to sit up slowly. If they remain unresponsive, prepare to treat an unresponsive casualty. And that's how we help someone who's feeling faint or have fainted. If this video has been helpful to you, help support St John Ambulance by going to sjA.org.
Okay. So another common one is low blood sugar for all the diabetics. Even if you're not a diabetic, maybe you didn't eat well that day. Your sugar might drop. You might feel a little bit faint. If you are a diabetic, make sure you kind of have like glucose tablets on you. Drink some orange juice or put water and sugar and drink it to bring your blood sugar up. Okay, so that's just for some diabetics or people who might have some low blood sugar. Now, if the person is not able to swallow or the sugar is low, they say, oh, I think my sugar is low, I want to faint. Have them sit down or whatever. But if they're not able to swallow, don't give them anything because then they might choke or develop pneumonia and then we'll have another issue, okay? Nosebleeds. I know my kid has nosebleeds from time to time. Some kids might experience nosebleed. It's just something very simple. People like to pinch their nose and put the head back. No. Put the head down, pinch your nose for at least 5 to 10 seconds, and that's it. Sometimes it's just dry nose or stuffy nose or they're a nose picker. Things just happen. So just tilt the head down, pinch it for a few seconds, and let it go, okay? If it's recurrent or you think that something is wrong, then you need to go see that primary care physician, okay? So choking. Choking is a preventable cause of death that occurs when food or another object gets stuck in the throat, the airway gets blocked, and immediate action is often needed. The person typically only has a few minutes before they pass out. Okay, so everybody knows the universal sign for choking, right? If someone is choking, what do they normally do? What do they look like? I need to see. Show me. Who knows? I don't see my ladies are not doing anything here. Come. Choking sign. Choking sign. Yes. Yes. Normally someone's choking. You see them. It looks like they want to pee. They'll be holding their neck. They'll start doing the dance. They'll start doing like this, right? If this, there's two severities of choking, okay? So we have mild and we have severe. If it's mild, this person is breathing, but they're wheezing, but they're able to cough or make noises of, I'm choking. Tell them, go ahead, cough, cough, cough it out. Cough it. Don't give them anything to drink. This is not the time to drink anything, okay? I know sometimes we're like, oh, you're coughing, drink water. No, let this person cough, okay? Because you don't know if they have something stuck in their throat. Is it going in the wrong way? Don't encourage it. If this person is not responsive and they're barely talking, they're not able to make a sound. Now, this is when you need to go into first aid mode and you need to assist this person to get this out. So normally for our adults, which we usually are older people, we consider these people to be 12 years old and above. We treat them all the same. Babe, we treat them all the same. And you normally like to do a maneuver. I'm going to use my husband. So this is the maneuver. You want to make a fist, okay? I'm glad we haven't eaten. Don't eat, oh. Do not eat, because you have to practice this on your neighbor, okay? Hold on, babe. This is my handsome husband. Right. So you basically want to make a fist, and you want to direct this fist at the top of your umbilicus, okay? And then you want to take your flat arm and pull over it, and then you're going to push in and pull and push up, okay? You're going to push, you're going to go right above the person's umbilicus. Is that umbilicus, umbilicus, umbilicum? Your belly button, yes, your belly button. Idodo. 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 You, right there, right on top. You make a fist, put it there. Use your other arm, cuff it together, push in and push up, okay? This is free touching. I'm licensed. I'm licensed. Okay? So this one, I find his belly button. I go right there. I made a fist, okay? My open arm. I go in, I push in, and I push up. Don't do it to your neighbor. I don't want them to vomit. You will not do it. So push in, right? Push in and push out, right? So that's what you would do for an adult. And if the kid, some kids are really, big, right? So you can treat him as an adult. Zion, come. He's eating already. Chai. Okay, come. I will not press your tummy. So you might have, when you have younger kids like this, 1 year old, older than 1 but less than 12, okay? So for these ones, you're going to get on your knees like you want to propose to someone because you want to be at their level. I can't do anything to this one at all, right? So I'm going to get on my knees. Okay, my husband can do that for me. Come here. This is my list. This one you can do too. This one will get it. Okay, same. You do the same thing like you would do for an adult, but now you put your hands by your throat. You're choking. I need help, Daddy. I need help. Daddy's here. He's going to make the thing, put it in the stomach, make a fist, put it right on top of your ododo. Is it ododo? Right? Belly button. And then he's going to take his other arm, and he's going to push in and push up. Okay? So that's how we do for those other people. Thank you, guys. Okay. Yes, he's saved. He choked. Now, for sometimes when they say they're choking, right? And they're doing like this. If you open up their mouth and you can see what's there and you can easily scoop it out. Don't ever do a blind sweep. If you can't see, don't touch, because you will just push the thing, and then we're going into another type of care. That will be advanced care we're going to go into after that. Okay? Is it active? Okay, same thing for the child. Just a brief video just to reinforce exactly what we were saying.
Let the choking victim know you're going to help them. Wrap your arms around the victim and make a fist with one hand and place it above the navel in the middle of the belly. Hold the fist with your other hand and press forcefully into the person's abdomen and up toward the chest. Continue performing abdominal thrusts until the obstruction is removed or the victim becomes unconscious. If the victim becomes unconscious, lower them to the ground and begin CPR.
Now this part is for babies, infants, people between the ages of 0 to 1 years old. Okay, so you know sometimes our kids, they'll start making, or if they're crawling, they picked up something, they put it in their mouth, okay? If you can open up their mouth and you can see what it is, whether it's Play-Doh or some type of small toy, if you can visibly see it, go ahead and scoop it out. But in the event that you can't scoop this out, then this is when you need to go into this mode for this patient to kind of help relieve the choking. Don't be afraid. Let's save the life. Forget about if you think you're going to hurt this child. Let's try to save the life. So you want to grab this infant. They're going to sit on your lap. You're mostly going to use your arm for these children. You're going to use your arm. They're going to lay on your forearm, and they're going to lay facing down. But I'm going to show you the video instead of me actually doing it. I do have a dummy that you guys can test on.
If an infant is conscious but choking, deliver 5 chest thrusts using the 2-finger technique, resting the infant against your forearm and thigh. Turn the infant over and deliver 5 back slaps. Continue alternating 5 chest thrusts and 5 back slaps until the airway obstruction has been removed. Make sure to support the infant's head and neck when delivering the chest thrusts and back slaps. If the infant becomes unconscious at any time, begin CPR.
So again, it's just about positioning the baby. You have this baby, it's choking, whatever. The baby's right here. You're gonna turn this baby. Look, my hand is here. I'm kind of holding the face and neck, okay? I'm not blocking the airway. I'm not like squishing the baby's face, right? It's just basically here. They're on the forearm. On the forearm. They shouldn't be that heavy that you can't, well, they might be. But you want to go ahead and do back slaps. You want to use the heel of your hand and do 5 back slaps to these patients, just like this. So remember, hold this one so the head will not be bobbing. When you're sitting down, we're going like this. The head will be lower than the body because we're trying to propel whatever that's happening to the child. So when you're doing the back slaps to the baby 5 times, turn the baby back over, 2 fingers. Children always get 2 fingers because they're not old enough to get all of your finger. We'll just break them. So 2 fingers, you just press, okay? And see if we have a response. If the food comes out, great. But there are times that, you know, certain things will happen, and I'll tell you what, and we'll go into that a little bit more about what happens when whatever we're trying to achieve is not achieved. Okay, so these are the little baby ones. I'll have you guys practice on this in a little bit too as well, okay? Okay, so this is just, like I said, sometimes you're doing this event to the children and they're not responding. The kids are not responding. Your kid goes limp, okay? Is lifeless, is not making sound. This is what we call, go ahead and call, when you have to start PALS for the children, you have to actually start CPR on your own child. Again, you have to expose the chest for this baby. It's still 2 fingers to the chest, 2 fingers to the chest, and you just go. It's not the one when we're slapping on the back. When this child goes, passes out, unresponsive to you, 2 fingers to the middle of the chest, between their breastbone. Expose the whole area and just press. At that moment, someone should be calling 911 or you should be calling 911 for yourself, okay? For the adults, same thing. That person that you're trying to help or the person that's choking and becomes limp. If they're no longer responding, you're gonna start chest compression on these patients. I'm not gonna tell you to listen to the air. I'm not gonna tell you to blow in their mouth. We don't care. When it comes to CPR, we just want you to push hard and fast, okay? Just push.
Check the victim for consciousness, gently tap their shoulder and shout.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
If no response, call 911 immediately.
You, call 911.
If the adult is lying on their stomach, turn them over into their back. They should be lying on a hard, flat surface. Check for breathing and signs of life.
Okay, sorry. So she was still doing first aid. She still approached the area. She checked her scene. She asked for responsiveness. This person wasn't responding. Remember, we spoke about airway, breathing, and circulation. You all know how to check a pulse. If you call 911 because this person is not breathing, and the person on the phone says, well, does the person have a pulse? You know how to check a pulse. You check him here, you check him at the wrist, and if you feel like it, you can check him at the groin region. If you don't feel anything, they're gonna tell you to start CPR on this patient, okay? So notice how the person is. When it comes to the adults, we're using the breastbone area, between the breastbone. Don't go below because you have a little bone there. That's not where we're doing resuscitation, right? That's not where we're doing. Your heart is to the left side. You wanna go right here in the middle, okay? We wanna push down. All we're trying to do is make sure we're trying to get to the heart, we're trying to pump it. You're using the heel of your arm, the heel of your hand, to press down into it. So I'm gonna bring out my big guy here, and I'm gonna have my husband do it. Again, we're looking in between the chest, right? Baby, hold this. We're looking into the chest. This is the breastbone, right? This is in between. This is where you're aiming for. Don't come down here. This hurts. This will just snap and break. This is where you're aiming for, in between this area. You're gonna use your heel of your hand. Use your heel of your hand. You're gonna apply your other hand, interlock, and you're gonna push straight down. You're gonna make sure it's gonna feel bad. You're gonna hear things crack. If you're not, they always say if nothing's cracking, you're not doing anything in this, okay? So you're just gonna push down on this patient just like this, okay? Notice how the arms are staying here. Where you wanna go. You wanna make sure that everything is coming back, but you wanna push in. Make sure that you're pushing in because what we're trying to do is we're trying to save a life. We're trying to increase circulation for this patient.
Check the victim for consciousness. Gently tap their shoulder and shout.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
If no response, call 911 immediately.
You, call 911.
If the adult is lying on their stomach, turn them over and to their back. They should be lying on a hard, flat surface. Check for breathing and signs of life. Watch their chest for any normal movement. Look for signs of life and breathing for no more than 10 seconds. No breathing or signs of life, begin CPR. Position the heel of one hand on the center of the adult's chest. Place your other hand on top. With your elbows locked and arms straight, lean over the adult's chest and compress the chest 2 inches in depth, 30 times.
1.
So, but you don't have to worry about the 30 times. That's for us advanced practitioners. All we want you to do is at least know the basic thing to do. And our goal always with these patients is really just to save a life. Do what you can, do what you're comfortable with. At any time that you have any doubt, please just call 911. Don't be afraid of a bill. Don't be afraid if someone's coming to ask you questions. You can even call 911 and leave the scene. As long as 911 has been notified, you're fine. Your family's safe. If your family says, oh, no, don't worry, I'll be okay, worry. It might not be okay, all right? So in all, thank you guys for listening. I hope you learned something.
And live right now, and I've learned a lot. I really have. Thank you to Dr. Alashe for the teaching on first aid. I almost feel like I can at least take one step on some of the things you covered. Thank you very much. And Sister Ngozi, in fact, as Sister Ngozi was teaching, so the topic I was given under this focus around engaged is, around parenting, and as Sister Ngozi was teaching, I was like, it's as if she saw my notes, so in fact, those things that I will be talking about, some of it that she's covered, I won't spend time on it. I'll just briefly talk about it and focus, because I have 2 teachings. That's why I was given a little bit more time. And it feels to me that based on some of the things she has covered, I need to focus on the second teaching, which is on our finances, a little bit more than on the parenting, because she's covered some of the things that I've covered. I'll still emphasize some things on parenting. So I'll be able to spend some more time. I was thinking I won't have time, by the time we get to that, but she's really helped a lot. So thank you. Thank you for all the teachers. Thanks to Pastor and Mommy for giving us this privilege, helping us to put these kind of programs together. It's a blessing. And thanks to everyone that made out the time to come. I believe God is going to teach us things that we'll all be able to use to go to the next level in our relationship. Again, the focus on this year's Women's Conference is really more around parenting. So the topic, my first topic, is connected parenting. So I'll focus it around children, but The principles will also work between the man and the wife. So as I'm talking about these things, I want you to also be thinking, and as God helps me out, I might bring out some things when it comes to your relationship. But I want you to also think, how can you apply it when it comes to your relationship as man and wife? So connected parenting is my first topic. My second topic will be on finance, and we'll get to that shortly. You know? All right, so I have said this before in a teaching, I think it's in the church also, that one of the most important assignments we can have on this side of heaven is the assignment of parenting. And Sister Ngozi was saying something along that direction. She said it's a ministry. And I strongly believe that one of the most important ministries that we can be given is the ministry. The Bible says, lo, children are the heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. So they are not ours. They belong to the Lord. He has given us the privilege to take care of them and to bring them up in his way. Psalm 127 verse 3. And, you know, as she also rightly said, she said it's an assignment. And I really like that. I like that. You know, when we were in school, they give us assignments. And I said on that note that you can't delegate that assignment. If you give you an assignment in school, you don't give it to somebody else to do it for you. You do it yourself. And then you have to bring it back the next day to report to your teacher, say you are finished. That means we're all going to go back and report to the one that gave the children to us on that assignment. We have to go back and report on what we have done. There are consequences, brethren. If we do it wrongly, there are consequences. And if we both on this side of heaven and on the other side, there are consequences. If we do it correctly as well, there are consequences. The Bible says in Colossians chapter 4, verse 17, says, say unto Archippus, and that's the way I think about our assignment, you know, as parents. Is say unto Archippus, take it to the ministry which you have received of the Lord, that you fulfill it. That is the way we need to think about our assignment as parents. We need to see to it that we fulfill that assignment. As I said, you're going to go back someday and give account of how you took care of that assignment. You know, I always say this when I have privilege to talk on this subject of parenting, that the true measure, please listen to this, the true measure of how effective you are on this assignment is what your children do when you are not there. It's not what they do when you're there. No, it's really what do they do in those years that are coming ahead when you're not there. I mean, a lot of children could pretend, we all are, you know, they say in where I come from, how do I say it in English? Old man, come and swear, right? That if you've never been a child before. I know that's not a good translation of it. Agbawabura, Bewe Shiori. You know, we've all been little before, and we know how some of the things that we did. You could pretend, your children could pretend when they're in your presence. But as much as God will help you, your goal is to be able to influence your children to do the right thing, whether you are there or not. That should be your underlying desire as a parent. Let my children do the right thing, whether I am there or not. Whether I'm there or not. The key to doing that is what I am titling connecting with your children. Connecting, that's where the title comes from. Connected parenting. Connection, let me define connection. I actually sent a book to us on the WhatsApp chat, on one of the WhatsApp chats today. I would strongly recommend that you find some time to read that book. It's called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. Everyone communicates, few connect. I will strongly recommend you find time to read it. In that book, it defines connecting, that it is the ability to identify with and relate with, in this case, your children in a way that increases your influence with them. That's what it means to connect with someone. Your goal is to be able to influence someone's action, whether you're there or not, influencing their choices, influencing their decision, influencing how they live their life. said connecting, once again, is the ability to identify with and relate with anyone. In this case, like I said, we're focused on children, with your children in a way that increases the influence that you have on them. In a way that increases the influence you have on them. Now, I want to keep, I want you to keep this in your mind as we continue this evening, that connecting is about the other person. It's never about you. Connecting is about the other person. If you want to increase your influence with people, you need to put yourself, you need to figure out how do you put yourself in their shoes? How do you get yourself into their shoes? I said if you can connect with your children, your relationship will be stronger. The sense of community with them will improve. Of course, your influence over them will increase. Your effectiveness as their parent will be on a high level. And, I want to start this evening by just asking this question quickly, and I want to have some thoughts. It says, what could we as parents do in order to be connected with our children such that we can increase our influence? Remember, our goal is to influence what our children do, whether we are there or not. The objective we should have as parents, when your children are 20 years old and they are away from home, will they do the right thing or not? They will only do so if you have influence with them. What would daddy say, or what would my mom say if I do this? Should be going on in their mind. That is, you have had influence with them. There are things you can do, especially in the early years. It's even much more critical in the earlier years that you do those things. So I guess my first question for us that I'd like to have our thoughts, and I think Sister Ngozi raised her hand, what should we or what can we do to increase our level of connection to the point that we can influence them to make the right choices? Yes, ma'am.
By leading by example, being a role model. So the children look at what we do, not actually what we say. So when they see you, doing a particular activity or behavior, so my mom did it or my dad did it, therefore I can do it too. So let your behaviors be positive in front of your children. Praise the Lord.
I think she saw my note. I really think so. You see, someone said, what you do speaks so loud that I can't hear what you say. And that is the problem with a lot of us as parents. Our actions do not line up with our words. We show outside. When people see you in the public, you appear pious. You appear as, somehow. But in the private, we are the opposite. You can deceive the pastor. You can deceive people in the public, but you can't deceive your children. They know you more than you think. One of the critical things that we need to keep in mind is how we live. The examples we set is what they are going to imbibe. You can try to do the right thing, or say rather the right thing. When you do the wrong thing, that's what they're going to do. That saying said, what you do speaks so loud. Please write that down, that I can't hear what you say. You tell your children, don't do this. It's the wrong thing. Then you're driving, and the speed sign says, and I think many of us are probably guilty. The speed sign says 70 miles per hour, and you're driving 85 miles per hour. You just told them it's okay to disobey the law. You didn't say it, but that's exactly what you've just said with your action. What we do is so critical. If we want to have our children behave the right way in the future, we must not cross the wires in their mind with respect to how to live. And that is what many of us as parents do. And as a result, when they are older, we see some signs, who taught you to do this? You taught them. You did. You taught them. I listed a couple of things here. It says, always remind yourself that connecting is about the other person. You connect only if you are willing to think about them. About them. Taking your your mind off your own agenda and thinking about your children on an ongoing basis. What are they learning from me? What are they learning from me? A kind of corollary questions to that is, as parents said, one of our key roles is to create an environment where your children feel they have the opportunity to be heard. Create an environment where your children feel they have an opportunity to be heard. And I guess my question on that is, how do you do that? How do you create? Yes, ma'am. You allow open discussions? Okay. If you don't mind, if you can use the mic here.
Yeah, I said, most of us, the way we're brought up like you don't talk. But even if, as much as we want them to, we want to set those boundaries, there should be some time when we create that open opportunity for them to talk without the issue of you are going to be scolded or we are going to smack you or something for saying what they need to say. So they feel like a part of the family and they can contribute. Yeah.
They shouldn't feel like there's a consequence for this thing. That is, yes, you don't just say, I say my mind freely. You don't just say things that will create problem. You need to know how to talk. But your children should feel it's okay to speak up, is what my sister just said. And I will still go back to what Sister Ngozi said and talk about this a little bit more in one or two slides. To kind of do that, you need to learn to lead with questions, I said here. Learn to lead with questions. We don't do that very much in our community, I will say. We think we have the answer. We think, as parents, I'm older, so I know what I need to do. I know what you need to do. I know what the right thing is. Now, I'm not saying we don't. Experience has taught us a lot of things, but we can learn a lot by being open to listening to their thoughts and their opinion as well. I said we should engage in dialogue. Many of us don't like, which especially as your children start getting into like teen years. They are very inquisitive, and we don't have the answer in many instances, so we don't want a dialogue. Please help me give her a mic. I think she has a question. Yes.
No, it's more of like, just to add on, sometimes we make mistakes as parents, and when you create the environment, when you make a mistake, confess that to your child.
Thank you.
You apologize to them when you're too angry. Say, mommy was too angry. Daddy was too angry. So let us calm down. Let everyone calm down. I apologize. It wasn't the right thing to do. Then when they do the wrong thing, they will say, oh, mommy and daddy apologize. It's the right thing to do when I mess up.
Thank you so much. That's also one of the things I said in my notes. One of the strongest two words is, I am sorry. I'm sorry, even between us as couples. I'm sorry. When you've done wrong, we need to learn to accept when we have done wrong, especially to our children. If we choose to want to, well, it's my child, so I can't say sorry, you're teaching them something. That it's wrong to apologize. That it's not a necessary thing to apologize. Not coercion. Many of us, I guess because of the culture we grew up in, we just want them to do what we want. Whatever it is, just do it. So, mommy, why? Just do it. At least help them to have an understanding of the why, especially in this kind of a culture. It's very important for your children to know the why. See, we're going to be talking about that word why in the second part of this teaching a little bit. It's very, very critical that you understand the whys of what you do. If you understand the why, you won't need anyone to tell you you need to do it. But if all they know is the what, then they will more than likely test the boundaries of what you've asked them not to do. Because you understand why you're asking them not to do it, but you've not given them an opportunity to understand the why. And I tell people, it's actually okay for your children to make mistakes. It is. Sometimes they will learn through those mistakes. Our prayer is that they will not make a mistake that they can't recover from. They make mistakes and learn from it. One of the points I make here is, conducting look back, making it a teachable moment. If something has gone wrong, learn to kind of investigate what went wrong, why did it go wrong, and both yourself and the child, what can you learn from the situation? Rather than, wanting to be perfect all the time. If things go wrong, what can we both learn as mother and as a parent, help them to know, I have also learned this from this experience. So next time, I'll do different. Kind of following on that is that we need to place value, and I won't spend too much time on this because Sister Ngozi talked about it. We need to place value on our children. We need to place value on them. We need to display interest in them. She was talking along that lines quite a bit, in their uniqueness. See, a lot of parents, unfortunately so, they compare. The Bible says they that compare themselves with themselves are not what? They're not wise. It's not wise to compare. You might have 3, 4, 5 children. I can assure you they are all going to be very different. The grace that God has placed on one child will be different from the grace God has placed on the other child. Don't say, because this one is doing it this way, the other one also has to do it that way. As parents, one of our key assignments is to figure out what is the uniqueness of this child. What is different between child A and child B? So that you can use that uniqueness to help them find their own path. If you want to train child A the same way you train child B, you will miss it. I'm telling you, you're going to miss it. So you need to be very, very intentional early in their years to find out what is unique about this child. What is unique? Help your children to appreciate their uniqueness. Help them. By the grace of God, we're blessed with 3. They are completely different from each other. Their interests are different. The things they want to focus attention is different. And we realize that very, very early on. So we helped each one to find the strength in his or her uniqueness. In our case, in her uniqueness. If we were not careful, see, many parents, they want to live their life through their children. I wanted to be a doctor and I couldn't be a doctor, so you must be a doctor. And when you do that, you're trying to live your life through them. Is that the purpose of God for his life or for our life? That should be your first assignment. Finding out what is unique about this child. What interests this child compared with the other child? All our children are on different paths, uniquely different, conceived the same way, born of the same mother and father, brought up in the same home. Until they left for college, they lived with us. So why will they be different? Because God has an assignment for each one that is different from the other one. Their interests are very different. So it is my responsibility as a father and the mother to figure out what is God's assignment for this child. What is unique about this child? What are the interests of this child? And then help him or her to find a way to develop along that lines, to build on those unique strengths. We need to celebrate our children's uniqueness. Now, I said here that we need to practice intentional inclusion. Intentional inclusion. Our children need to feel welcome. Sister Ngozi talked about this, so I will just say it briefly. I've had the privilege of working with many people in my career life. There is a particular individual that I really appreciate so much. He's a very senior person in the organization. But no matter what he is doing, brethren, please listen to this. Please listen to this. No matter what he is doing, if you walk into his office, he's going to turn and face you. I'm talking about someone that is handling serious things. I'm not talking about just someone that is a very senior person in the organization. The moment you walk into his office, whether you had an appointment or not, he's going to turn and face you. And until you walk out, he's not going to return to whatever he was doing. He's going to maintain attention on you and while you are there until you are gone. I learned from him, and I brought it home. So anytime our children, when they were very little, they will come, Daddy, that is the end of whatever I'm doing. I will turn and face them and pay attention to them. Someone said, people are not going to remember what you said to them. They won't even remember what you showed them, but they will remember how you made them feel. My desire is that anyone that have the privilege of meeting will feel the right thing. They will feel the kind of thing that I feel when I meet with that individual. What do your children feel when they leave your presence? Anger? Or he has no time for me? Or whatever he or she is doing is more important than me? The moment you do that, you've lost an opportunity. Remember, the word influence is your goal. You've lost an opportunity to influence that child positively. We need to make our children feel welcomed. Feel welcome. Face them and pay attention to them when they need to talk to you. We need to express gratitude. I said this earlier on, that the most powerful 2 words is thank you or I'm sorry. Those are the most powerful 2 words. Thank you. Parents don't want to say thank you, and I don't know why, to children. If your child, yes, it might be their duty, but say thank you. They just took out the trash. Oh, thank you for taking out the trash. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You know, we think because we are parents, it's too much for us to say thank you to our children. We are training. Remember, you are teaching by examples. By example, by saying thank you, what you're doing is you're telling them this is the right thing to do when someone does something for you. That's what you say. That's why you do that. Says if you want to connect with your child, you have to be willing to slow down and go at their pace. And this is another one that parents tend not to do very well. Slow down and go at their pace. Even, I said here that be willing to take others in your family along life's journey, even if it means you'll get there later. You know, as parents, I remember an experience. I had an opportunity to actually have had a particular assignment given to me at work, but it will have taken me away. It will have made me rise faster, as it were, but it will have taken me away from the children. So I rejected the assignment. It slowed me down, but God compensated for it over time. At that time, our children were at the stage that they were preparing for, they were kind of finishing high school. And for me, it was important that I'm there when they get back, in the evening to kind of see how they're doing in school. All the college visits, we were doing it together. I didn't want to be making money and I missed opportunities to be part of college visits. So I did what? I slowed down to go at their pace. Now, I'm not saying, don't take opportunities, but what I'm saying is think about this. There will be need sometimes to slow down and carry your family along. It might mean you get there later, but you would have built a legacy. We need to learn to stop, and slow down when it comes to our own agenda sometimes. If not, we are going to miss opportunities. And this is very, very important to me. And Sister Ngozi just said it at the beginning, and that's why I said she looked at my notes. She didn't, I'm just joking. Leading by example. We need to discipline ourselves. Most parents don't do this. We want to discipline our children, but we don't want to discipline ourselves. So we should institute a culture of discipline. There's this quote that says, the true measure of a man's character is what he will do if he will never be found out. We need to be the first to follow the rules that we set. If you set a rule, be the first to follow it. Show your children that, you are obedient to that rule, and they are not the only one that should be, obedient to the rule. If you say, after meals, let's all take out our plates, put it in the dishwasher. After meal, carry your home dish and take it to the dishwasher yourself. Be the first to obey the rules that you set. It helps your children to kind of connect what you say with what you do. It helps to build trust, you know. Character makes trust possible, and trust makes connection possible. Are you the same person in the private as you are in the public? I don't have a lot of time to talk about that tonight, but please, brethren, it's very, very, very easy to want to paint a particular picture on the outside. But let's be more concerned about who we are. Who we are, not what people think we are. Not what people think about us. Who am I? Let's work on our character, brethren. That is what your children see, your character. They see it. They may not be able to see anything because they are young, but they see it. And it's your character that defines what they will also do in the future. That's what influenced them the most, your character. We are teaching them daily. In fact, the lessons that they learn from us is mostly from what we do, not from what we say to them. Many of us miss opportunity to teach the right lessons because of faulty character. Your character is who you are when nobody is watching. That's what your character is. Let's not focus on how we are presenting ourselves. Let's truly focus on who you truly are. Let who you are in the public be who you are in the private. Because who you are in the private is what teaches your children, not who you are in the public. No, absolutely not. That last note says, what do your children see when they look at or think about you? When they are not with you, what picture is in their mind when they think about you? Especially in their late teen years, when they are no longer at home. What do they think of when they remember you as a parent? And that starts from when they are little. There's a saying again in my language that it's from it's not a oak tree. I don't know the name of the tree in English. We call it Iroko where I come from. That is from when it's little that you can break its branches. Once it grows, no matter how strong you are, you can no longer break that branch. A lot of us have young children here. Please, brethren, don't miss this opportunity. Ours are grown now. They've left home. If I had missed the opportunity, it's late if I were trying to do something now. I really appreciate everyone that has little ones here. You have an opportunity that will speak for eternity. Let's make the most of it. A few more points here, and then I'll go to the part 2 of my teaching. Other keys, be available. Be intentional about being available. I gave you an example. I still remember a man that I worked with like many years ago. He showed availability. You walk into his office, he turns and faces you. And he listens to whatever you want to say. Availability. We need to be intentional. Listening. Many of us don't listen well. When you are even listening, you are preparing your answer. And even amongst us as couples, where you are listening, especially men, you're thinking about how you're going to respond to the question or the point your son, your daughter is making or your wife is bringing up. When you do that, automatically your brain shuts down. You're no longer hearing what they're saying. You need to learn to listen. Ask questions. The power of question is that it shows that you are interested. You want to know about them, about your child in this case. Again, these are applicable in the marriage setting. It shows you are interested. You want to know more. Please, can you help me understand why you said that? Why do you think that is the way it ought to be? Ask questions. We need to be humble. You know? We need to think less of ourselves. Most parents think too much. Think too much of themselves. They think too much of themselves. We need to learn to be humble in the parent-children relationship. Be patient with their weaknesses. We have as well. Imagine if God is not patient with us. We need to be patient with our children's weaknesses and be open to correction. We need to be open to correction ourselves. Adaptability. This is very important, and Sister Ngozi was talking about it, is to learn to move into their world. Learn to move in. It may be not, sometimes you can't do it physically, even if it's mentally. Helping to try and, why is this child thinking this way? Because if you don't understand it, there is no way you can appreciate what he or she is saying. It doesn't mean it's right. That's not what I'm saying, brethren. But you want to understand the spirit of what is going on. Learn to move into their world. Find something that will help you to connect with your child's world. A couple of questions that I want to encourage you always ask is, do you feel what your children feel along that lines of what I just said, to go into their world? Do you see what they see? Do you know what they know? Do you know what they know, or you're simply trying to share your own perspective? This is the right thing. I'm not saying you're wrong, brethren. Please keep that in mind. But you want to not only share your perspective, learn to see things from their point of view. I said here that it is foolishness to give answers before understanding the question. That's the height of foolishness. You're giving an answer, you don't even understand the question. The Bible says, he who answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him. And many of us are answering our children before we hear them. We are answering the question and we don't even understand the question. The Bible says it is foolishness. We need to learn to understand the question from the perspective of our children. And this is also very important. We need to guard against generalization. This is what you did yesterday. That is why you are doing it again today. How do you know? This is what your sister did, so you two are doing the same. How do you know? Generalizing causes you to stop paying attention. Remember, I talked about listening. When you generalize, you're not listening. From that moment, you shut off your ability to listen. This is why you are doing it. This is what all you youths in this age, this is what you all do. How do you know? You stereotype. Thank you. You stereotype. This is why you're doing what you're doing. I think it's very important to help our children to know that we appreciate and want to see things from their perspective. Again, brethren, remember what I said. I'm not saying you accept everything or that everything they're saying is right. No. But you want to learn to give yourself an opportunity to understand their perspective. Understand their perspective. And I'll wrap up this. We'll have some time for Q&A, but I'll wrap up this because I want to take the second part of the teaching. There are two different teachings. So I would like to wrap this up, then we'll take Q&A later. It says, the measure of a great parent. I said this at the beginning. Please, if you don't write anything or take any picture, take this one. The measure of a great parent is not what he or she knows. It's what his or her child or children knows and do, whether he or she is there or not. The measure of your parenting is not what you know. It's what your child knows and what he or she does in your absence. That's the measure of the quality of a parenting. We talked about this. Practice talking with your children. Actually, I've not spoken about that a lot this evening. Not at them or above them. Many parents don't talk with wit. Praise the Lord. I hope we're listening. Many parents don't talk with, they don't dialogue with their children. This is how it is, and you must do it because I said. We talk at them or above them. You use terminologies that they will never understand. That's what it means to talk above them. This is it. No. Have a dialogue. Help them understand. I mean, this is not an easy thing. I remember when our children were in their teenage years, we had some heated dialogue, brethren. I remember there was a day we were coming back from church, when the early teen, maybe 12, 13, 14 or something, but we were coming back from church. I don't know. They were arguing with me all the way home. But I didn't give up. We argued, I explained my points. I let them share their point. At the point, one was crying. It's okay to cry. Me too, I will share my own time if I need to, but we are going to talk about this together. I want you to understand my perspective, and I also want to understand your perspective. You dialogue. Many parents don't want to do that. It's easier to just say, this is it. But that's not always the best thing to do. And I said this earlier on, that your children may not remember what you said or did, but they will always remember how you made them feel. They will. Live what you communicate. Living what you teach your children builds credibility with them. It earns you credit. Make your words and actions consistent, brethren. And you think they don't see you because they are 1 or 2 years old. They see. I tell them I'm not at home. That's a popular example that people give. And you are in the room. We need to learn to be accountable. My sister at the back in the red shirts talked about that earlier on. Acknowledge your mistake and apologize when you're wrong. This is very, very important. Most parents don't want to apologize. If you're wrong and you've come to realize that you're wrong, say, I'm sorry. I didn't really understand what was going on. I'm sorry. That's it. Praise the Lord. I'll end that first part there. Again, we'll take Q&A later, but I hope you had some things that you wrote down so we can kind of cover this second part. I thought I would be able to cover that first part in 15 minutes, but I could not. But I'm going to try and move on this. This is on finance, so you can see that it's a completely different topic. But please, I want you to write things down. I always say write things down. I know that we're hitting, but please write things down. Building financial acumen and independence. Your goal is financial independence under this topic. And I wrote a couple of things as keys to financial independence. I made this statement. The first bullet there says, mastering money is about mastering yourself and your emotions. That's really what mastering money is all about. It's about mastering yourself. And I said in the second bullet that we should think of yourself as being self-employed, regardless of who pays your paycheck, regardless of who you collect a paycheck from. Whether you have a business or not, think of yourself as being self-employed. The primary key to financial independence is to maintain a long-term goal. I won't want to just read my slide because there are a couple of things that I will be talking about, but there are some important points that I want to make at the beginning. You see, most people, especially in the Christendom, not even just in the Christendom, maybe more in our culture, we are very short-sighted when it comes to finance. We want to plant and reap today. We want to have results today. They say this is what everybody is doing now, and everybody runs there, and they don't get anything out of it. Thank you. They don't get anything out of it. The key to financial independence, brethren, is, please keep this in mind, is long-term perspective, maintaining a long-term perspective. I will show you a table here. I'm sure some of us have heard the word compound interest before. The power of compounding only comes with time. That's the thing. They said Isaac Newton, or one of these guys, called it the seventh wonder of the world, compound interest. And when you really look at it from a mathematical point of view, it is really a wonderful thing. When time works on your investment. Jesus said, you don't sow a seed in the ground and you just go and pull it off. Give it time. Many people are not good when it comes to time. They want a quick result. A quick result. Let me go to the next slide. So from a point of view of finances and our finances, one of the very first and most important thing is to understand your why. Why do you even want to be financially independent? Why is it important to be financially independent? Why? My why will likely be different from your why. There will be some things that are general to most of us, but there should be something that drives you independent of what is driving other people. Yours might be, I want to be financially independent so that by the time I'm 45, I don't want to have to, depend on a paycheck. That might be your reason. It could be, I want to have enough so that I can be a blessing to the kingdom by the time I'm 50. That might be your reason. But you need to have a strong why, something that motivates your actions. It helps you to keep going, even when the journey seems to be difficult. What is your why? It validates some of the sacrifices that you have to make. Some people take some decisions that if they really have a good why, they will probably not have taken. You go out and you bought a vehicle that you can't afford because you don't even know you can't afford it. But if you had an understanding of what you want to achieve, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and why you want to achieve it, you will take some sacrifices. I will deny myself of this pleasure today because I want to be at a particular place in future, financially speaking. Your why is what motivates your ability to take such quality decisions. What is the reason why you want to be financially independent? And I wrote a couple of things. It might say, you want to be a blessing to the kingdom. You want to be able, when what you even have is not enough for you, how can you be a blessing to the kingdom? Yeah, you can't. You want to be able to think and act for yourself. You don't want to be under the, I have a friend, one of my very close friends. He said somebody at work was telling him he can't take a vacation. He said, we are colleagues. How can you tell me I can't take a vacation? If the guy was not financially secure, he wouldn't say that. Even when they tell him you can't take a vacation, he will be begging. You need to be at a place where you work because you want to, not because you have to. Most of us don't put ourselves in that place. We allow ourselves to be driven by other people's decision. We need to begin to prayerfully think about how can I get myself to the place where I go to that place, but if I choose to leave, it's not going to hurt me. You need to put yourself in that place. The ability to think and act for yourself. The ability to help more people could be your reason. To pay for your children's college could be yours. That way they don't have to leave college being under debt. That might be your reason. And even in the home, majority of the things that causes stress is related to finance. I'm telling you, brethren, it's related to that problem of finance. If you can solve the problem of finance, 80% of the stressors in your home will just disappear. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. Maybe to overcome those kind of stress, and what they call it the golden years, you want to have enough to be a channel of God's blessings. Whatever your reason is, my point is you need to have a good why. That's just what I'm trying to say. When you have a good why, you will make sacrifices because you're going to have to go through some challenges to get to your goal. So you need to have a good why. And then you need to define your what. I will take us quickly through, goal setting from a financial point of view this evening. You need to define your what, okay, along with your why. Where do I want to be 5 years from now financially? 10 years from now? 15 years from now? 20 years from now? Where do I want to be financially? Many believers don't answer that question. And, please don't misunderstand me. It's important to live by faith. I'm not saying, we shouldn't live by faith. Because sometimes in the church, when we talk about this subject, I've had some questions that makes me just want to think, are you hearing yourself? But I have faith that, God will provide for me. I'm not saying God will not provide for you. That's not the point. The reason God gave us brain is so that we don't disturb him. Many of us disturb God for what he's already given us the ability to take care of. That's the reason why he gave us a brain, so we don't disturb him. But we don't want to, thinking is a job, brethren. That's why many people don't like to think. We prefer to pray. Again, pray. Look, please, you see, sometimes when I say these things, some people say, oh, no. In fact, I taught on Sunday. The Bible says, unless the Lord builds a house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord watches over a city, the watchmen are awake but in vain. This is in vain you wake up early and rise up late to eat the bread of sorrow. So if God does not bless what you do, you're wasting time. So I'm not saying you shouldn't pray. The foundation of everything that I'm talking about here is God. But there are things that he has given you the grace to do. If you don't do it, he won't do it for you. If you don't plan, God will not plan for you. If you don't set a goal, God will not set a goal for you. If you don't invest, God will not invest for you. So you need to do your part and leave the rest to God. I read a book by Kenneth Hagin some years ago when the devil was between Kenneth Hagin and Jesus. And Kenneth Hagin was expecting Jesus to rebuke the devil, and the devil was dancing in between them, and Jesus did not rebuke the devil. Eventually, Kenneth Hagin told the demon, to go. And he asked Jesus, why didn't that demon go? Why didn't you tell the demon to leave? He said, no, why should I? I've already told you that you can rebuke the demon. Why are you waiting for me to do it for you? And I took a key lesson from that. The things I must do, God will not do it for me. This is a challenge for many believers. We need to trust God. We need to pray. But that which we must do, we must do. If not, you're going to stay in the same place. Many people, brethren, have what I call a run rate of 2 months or less. That is, if income doesn't come home today, 2 months they will be on the street. Many people, especially in this side of the world. In Africa, if you lose your job, you go to your uncle's house. They take you in until you... Say that again. Thank you. Go to your... Yeah, there's no uncle. There's no uncle. It's your landlord. You're on your own. Many people are 2 months. This is statistics I'm sharing. I'm saying it in a funny way, but this is statistics. Many people are less than 2 months away from homelessness, even in the church. Even in the church. This is because most people spend more than they are making. Most people, and it's so sad to me when people live above their means to impress people. People that don't care about you, you're trying to impress them. Let me leave that. We need to learn to live beneath our means, brethren. There's another saying in some of these things come to me in my language. You're not yet as big as a hippopotamus, yet you are breathing. But, life is in stages, brethren, and men are in sizes. If your stage is to sleep on any. When it's time for you to sleep on a bed, God will give you the grace to sleep on a bed. If your stage right now is to drive a Beetle, don't go and buy a Toyota Corolla and be spending $500 a month that you don't have because you want somebody else to think you have arrived. They don't care whether you have arrived or not. You will not arrive at your future, even if they think you have arrived. Who cares? And that is, if you can't plan, simple planning, you have no future when it comes to finance. Absolutely no future. Absolutely none. And this is not a function of how much you earn. I tell people this all the time. It is never a function of how much you earn. Never. If it is a function of how much you earn, you will not hear people that they pay millions of dollars. These young people that leave college, they go play sports. They pay millions of dollars, and after a while, they tell you they are broke. It's not a function of how much you earn. It's a function of financial intelligence. That's all it is. It's a function of learning to live below your means. The problem with those guys is they give them a contract of 10 million. Then they know, that is when they know they can't take commercial flight. It has to be charter flight. That's when they know, my stage right now is not to drive a Ford Expedition. It's Lamborghini Countach. That's my stage. And the problem with each of these things is that there are expenses that comes with them. People don't think about those expenses. They just think about showing off and showing up. Who are you trying to impress, brethren? That's what they call Parkinson's law. It says expenditure always rises to the level of income. And this is what is probleming many people. Use my sister's English. My mic is not, she was using an interesting English. It's often. My mic is often. This is what's probleming many people. Parkinson's law. Your key to financial independence is to break Parkinson's law in your finances. You need to break Parkinson's law. You must never allow your expense to rise to the level of your income. Never. As long as it does, you have actually not increased your income. You haven't. The difference between what you make and what you spend is the critical factor. It's never how much you make. It's what is left and how hard what is left is working for you. It's never how much you make. It's what is left and how hard what is left is working for you. I have this picture here. Again, I don't intend to make us accountants. I'm not even an accountant myself. But there are some simple principles that I want to pass across. That's what they call an income statement and a balance sheet in accounting. Your income statement simply helps you to see what comes in, what goes out. Your balance sheet, on the other hand, helps you to show what you own, your assets, they call it, and what you owe, your liabilities. That's all. That's what, all these people that call themselves accountant, that's all they do. Nothing more than that. They put on a tie and look serious. That's all they do. It's not, this thing I just said, that's all they do, honestly speaking. All right, so that's a balance sheet. There are three classes of people. Three, and that is it. I want you to picture yourself. I will explain it, but I want you to picture yourself in those three classes of people. Person A, income in their income statement. Income comes in and everything goes out as expenses. Because they are living above their means. In fact, they don't even have enough to cover their expenses. Now, we are different stages in life. Some people are at a stage that, they are going through some challenges. I understand that. But beyond that. So, everything that comes in, goes out. That's person A. Person B, things come in, they use it to buy liabilities. They're buying new cars, they have credit card loan, mortgages, and everything then turns back into expenses. Okay? So for person A, it says this is the cash flow of a poor person. A poor person cannot even buy a house, so everything they have, they just have to spend. The cash flow pattern of middle class is the one in B. They look rich. They have a big house. They have a big car. It's liabilities. It's not their own. It belongs to the bank. But people see them and they think, oh man, they've arrived. Fake life. Somebody said fake life. Thank you, Ma. So all the income, they don't buy assets, they buy a liability. An asset is something that will make money for you even when you are sleeping. That's what an asset is. A liability is something that will take money from your pocket even when you are walking. You're walking, and but it's taking money away from you. An asset, on the other hand, even when you're sleeping, is putting money into your pocket. And that is the number 3 person. What wealthy people do is to learn to convert their income into assets. And that asset, your goal is to grow your asset column to the point that it yields more than you need for your expenses. That's when you are wealthy. When your assets produces income, whether you are working, W-O-R-K-I-N-G, or not, that's when you're wealthy. So your goal is to turn earned income into assets that can earn. It could be real estate, it could be stocks, it could be bonds, notes. I don't have time to teach those differences a lot tonight, but turning your earned income. Let me go to this next slide, actually. There are 3 types of income. One is earned income. You work, they pay you. It's called earned income. You earn it. If you don't work, you don't get that money, that kind of money. That's one kind of income. Another one is passive income. Income from businesses that you don't have to be there for it to be running. Or investment that you don't have to be there for it to be coming in. That is a passive income, And then portfolio income is similar to, it's a kind of passive income, but it's more from paper type investment. Owning stocks, owning bonds, real estate. Now, your goal, you see, the challenge with earned income is that it also attracts the highest taxes. Passive and portfolio income have the low, rich people know how to take care of themselves. They've made sure that their own tax will be the lowest. So if you earn passive income, if you look at it's amazing. If you earn passive income, the tax rate is much lower than on earned income. In fact, earned income, they call it pay as you earn. Before you get the money, before you even pay your tithe, government have taken their own. But when it comes to passive and portfolio income, you pay your tax later. And in fact, with passive income, most of your expenses can be deducted before taxation. But for someone that's earning earned income, they collect your tax from you. It's the highest kind of tax. Your goal is to convert, I said this earlier on, earned income into passive and or portfolio income. And they also said here that you need to pay yourself first. There's a book I want to recommend. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. If you can read The Millionaire Next Door and another book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it will change your mentality when it comes to money. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and The Millionaire Next Door. We need to manage our expenses with utmost care, brethren. Your goal is to turn earned income into passive and portfolio income. Again, because of my time, I won't be able to kind of delve into it very much this morning. I want to ginger something in us tonight to say, look, I can be better. I can be better. That's my goal by the grace of God. And I say why most people don't invest. For some people, it's fear. Fear of losing. So I say the fear of losing prevents many from winning. The fear of losing is stronger from them than the will to win. I say, the stock market is going up and down, up and down. They don't even understand the stock market. If you put your money, you're going to lose your money. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. Fear motivates some people. So the fear of losing is stronger than their will to win. Ignorance, and this is the biggest one in the church, actually. Ignorance. Ignorance. This is my people perish for lack of knowledge. We need to invest in our mind, in our financial understanding. They said, this is sad, but I'll say it. They say if you want to hide anything from a black man, put it in a book. Did you hear what I said, brethren? And that is painful to me. So much wealth of knowledge. People, they don't care. They don't appreciate books. What a book does is what it took somebody 10 years to learn, you would learn it in 2 days. That's what a book does. And all you need to do is just to practice it. The result they got, you're going to get it. Ignorance. Your mind is really your greatest asset. What is in your head determines what will be in your pocket, in your hands. And number 3 is time. Most people are short-term focused. You need to maintain, I've said that like 10 times today. We need to maintain a long-term view. I'm going to wrap up quickly because my 1 hour is gone. So I won't be able to kind of delve into those 6 steps. So number 1 was to set, a goal. Number 2, define your what, is your number 1. Number 2 is to prayerfully set a goal. I will just run through this and we can talk about it at some other time. Where do I want to be 5, 10, 15 years from now? And you don't just set those goals arbitrarily. There are ways to go about it. I don't have time to explain the time value of money, but I would like to say this. If you're not investing, you are hurting yourself because of what they call inflation. $100 today is not $100 we know that intuitively. It's not $100 five years from now. It's less because inflation is, especially in today's environment. I think in the US, inflation normally used to be around 3%. Right now, it's like 7% or maybe even higher. So if you keep that money in your pocket, you're not helping yourself. You're actually hurting yourself by keeping cash. I said the worst thing to do with money is to keep cash. If you have cash, the best thing to do is to invest it, not to keep it. The worst thing to do with money is to keep cash. I don't have time to go through the mathematics, but keep that in mind. I want to kind of just quickly use this to explain what I'm saying. It's too tiny, so you won't see it. But if I invest, as an example, just $60 a month, $60, please listen to this, brethren, which is 60 times 12 is 720, right? So if I put $720 in an investment that is yielding me an average of $10% return on an annualized basis, in 5 years, that money will be equal to $4,300 and something. $60 a month in 5 years. If I keep doing so, in 10 years, it will be $11,000. If I keep doing so, in 20 years, it will be $41,000. If I keep doing so, in 60 years, it will be $2 million. $60 a month. But how will you have $60 to set apart when you're living above your means? I'm using, I can model this for you. Many people could potentially put aside $60 a month. 60 years is even a long time. 40 years is $318,000. $60 a month. The average rate of return in the market, in the stock market, is about 10%. So you don't even need to do anything when it comes to wisdom. There are available investment vehicles that you can put that money into that will return that kind of returns. And as long as you're not allowing your emotion to go up and down with the market, you will be there. But imagine if this was $100 or $200 that you're setting apart. In 20 years, you get to that million. In 15 years, even less. But because you're not allowing yourself to have extra, you're living above your means. Remember, the poor man, everything comes, everything goes. The middle class, theirs is not going. They are buying what looks like asset, but it's their liability. Liability is taking money from them. So everything still goes. Your goal is to turn your income into assets so that it produces money for you. It does that. Identify the action that will help you get there and what steps you need to take. We'll talk about those some other time. And then create your plan, And I will end with this. 3 keys to long-term financial success is start building a financial cushion. You can't build a cushion when you don't budget, brethren. Again, I don't have time to talk about budgeting tonight. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. As a husband and wife, you need to sit down every year and budget. Many people don't know what they're earning. They know what they're earning, but they don't know what they are spending money on. But what? I'm sure many of you have. Where did all this money go? You need to be a budgeter. You know, the only way to budget, our youngest daughter just started working. And one of the things that I do for them is, you know, even while they were in school, I started teaching them a lot of these things, you know, tithing, they all tithe and all of that, even from the money we were giving them. Now, she just started working. Daddy, I need to do my budget. I said, that's my daughter. We sat down together one afternoon and we did our budget. So my wife is here. She's thinking about moving out of our apartment to another place. I didn't say, I said, no. Our mommy was saying, no. She said, no, I can't afford that one. She said it herself. She knows what she can and cannot afford, is the point I'm making. Because she's seen it on paper. Many much older believers don't know what they can afford and cannot afford. That's why they will buy a car that they cannot afford. They don't know they can't afford it. They go to the store and they swipe. You know, I tell people, one of the worst things to do to yourself is to use a credit card. I don't know if you realize that when you use a credit, it doesn't feel like you're spending money. Do you notice? It doesn't feel like you're spending money. The best thing to do to yourself financially is to carry cash or a debit card. You are going to feel it, especially when you have a budget. Because as you spend $50, you know what it means. But when it comes to a credit card, and the people that created it, I wish I had time to talk about this. They know what they are doing when they created this credit card thing. They put it in bondage. That's what they call the rule of 72. 72 divided by the interest rate is how often that money will double. If you divide 72 by let's say 23, it's about 3. So if I take a credit card, you know, put money on credit card, and I keep it what they call revolving credit, I don't pay it off at the end of the month, every 3 years, the balance you have will double. So if you have 10, it becomes 20,000. If you wait another 3 years, it becomes 40,000. 3 years, 80,000. People, I tell people, the witchcraft in America is credit card. They think there's no witchcraft here. The witchcraft in this country is credit card. And they know what they are doing. They suck you in. They say they have, you know, I tell people, credit card company pay me. My credit card is an asset. It pays me every month. My men take care of things. I don't pay money for it. I get it free of charge. $100, $200 a month. My credit card. That's what they call cash back. They pay me to use their card. I don't pay them anything. They beg me to use their card, essentially. Don't live beyond your means, brethren. It doesn't help you. I wish I had time. We'll do it some other time. So start building a financial cushion. Focus on long-term compounding with all your investments. You know, be an investor. That's what they call asset allocation. I won't have time to go into detail on that. But as you begin to age, you reallocate or rebalance your portfolio, as they call it. The younger you are, the more ability to take risk you have. You can invest in investment that is volatile when you're age 20, 30. When you become like me and you turn 50, you need to change the risk profile. When you become older than I am, when you turn 60, 65, 70, you change your risk profile because at that point you can't afford for something to happen in the market and it affects you. So there's what they call asset allocation. You rebalance on an annual basis. We'll talk about that some more at another time. Okay, let me end there. My time is up. Sorry I took a little bit more time, but thank you. Yeah.